Hey, welcome to another edition of Chocobo Chasers. As always, I'm G, and I'm joined by the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. How you boys doing this evening?
Doing good. Happy to be back. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Yeah. Well, we just had the Game Awards nominees announced, so obviously we'll be discussing that pretty in depth. We're not going to dive into every single little category. I don't give a fuck about esports athletes. Which I think that's awesome if you can do that for a living, but that's not necessarily what our
It's always like
viewers are.
fakers in there, so it's like
It's not necessarily what our viewers are also tuning in for. So let's go ahead and let's get the episode started with a what are you playing? I'll actually go ahead and kick us off this week because I've got a little bit of a shorter list. Played a bit of Deadlock, still having a lot of fun with it. Finished Silent Hill 2. So my first time ever finishing the game, whether it be the remake or the original. God damn, what a fucking amazing game. Honestly, I am just floored by how good it is. I got the drown ending, which I know Dash did as well on his first playthrough. Did not realize there's like 8 different endings, including 2 new ones that they added for the remake as well. But honestly, just I see after I've seen the Silent Hill film, and I see so much influence that the film took, and I'm honestly pretty impressed that they're able to pack so much in, which that's kudos to them. And now I'm way more excited for this Silent Hill sequel that they're creating, and we'll have to see what ends up happening there. But so Silent Hill, Deadlock, college football, started up Life is Strange Double Exposure, which is a game I've talked about on the show. I've been very, very excited for. Very, very excited to be able to continue Max, who's the main character in the original game, as well as this one, her story. And Hanatel, who plays Max in both games, was actually just nominated for Best Performer in the Game Awards. So congrats to her, which is amazing. But I think... Oh, I've also played Horizon Forbidden West Remastered a little bit. Just getting to experience it with obviously all the new, wrinkles and everything. And
Have you mastered the sequel already?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay, I was like, holy shit, that was fucking quick.
No, Horizon Zero Dawn. So it's a PS5 native version. Only a $10 upgrade if you own the original one too. So yeah,
which definitely is a good move by Sony on that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I can definitely give them kudos for as far as them remastering and remaking everything, is that they're giving
most of us had it because of PlayStation Plus. So do you just get the $10 upgrade that way?
Well, and yes, so even if you just owned it, because they gave Horizon Zero Dawn for free, you didn't even have to be a PS Plus member during COVID. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, Eric, fucking dummy apparently.
It's good to buy games too to support them. So,
yeah, it is good. I bought it on release, so I absolutely had a blast with it and its sequel. So definitely a hard recommend. But that's it for me. So pretty small week. Been pretty busy with work and everything. So Dash, I'll pass it over to you this week.
I'll start off with a little game that I decided to check out because it came across like my algorithm of advertisements. So obviously they must know I like roguelike. So it advertised me this game called Dead Zone Rogue, which it's not released yet, but it has a demo. So I decided to check it out. So this is an FPS roguelike. So not many of those out there. The only few I can think of would be like Gunfire Reborn, which is awesome if you haven't heard of that one yet. But Dead Zone Rogue, it kind of plays like Doom. You just go through a spaceship fighting robots and other stuff. But it kind of, maybe it's because it's a demo, it's early access, so there might be just that lack of content. But like the gameplay itself is smooth, but I would say like the itemization, the roguelike elements aren't really there as much as I would like them to be. So like you have like the white, green, blue, purple, gold items that you can pick up. But like stat wise, besides like maybe one modifier, it's always the same like armor and damage and stuff. So there isn't much variety or differences that you can do with it. But it was fun and smooth, but I guess I'm going to have to wait for the full release to see if it's something I'm going to actually say, yes, I'm gonna install. I'm gonna spend money on this and do the whole thing. Otherwise, a little bit more Call of Duty. So season 1's finally here, and just grinding zombies because that's all I ever want to play on Call of Duty, unless someone invites me to multiplayer, which hasn't happened recently. But I wouldn't mind a reunion with the Throb Boys.
Yeah, we might play Friday. I've got a busy weekend and next week with Thanksgiving, but I'll be around.
I will be going to a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth concert on Friday. So
Okay,
yes.
cool.
We want to talk. Hey, that's going to be on your. What are you playing this week?
Yeah,
I will talk about it, of course, because when it comes to soundtracks, nothing beats Final Fantasy, let alone Final Fantasy VII's. And,
Lord of the Rings, but I'll let you have it.
In video games, I'm not saying like
All right. I'll let you have it. That's going to be awesome, man. I'm glad you're going to that. That's I've wanted to do is it like one of those candlelight concerts?
No. This is an actual orchestra concert.
Okay.
They actually have like a full on
orchestra.
I think like it has like the guy. I went to the one for the remake.
Yeah.
Like a couple years ago in Orlando, and it it had like stuff with Nobuo or Uematsu or what the guy who the composer. So he was up there. Like they played videos from him, and I think the composer or the director, maestro worked directly with him. So there's a lot of overlap, and I think this is an officially sponsored event. It's not just like a fan one.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm looking it up right now. It looks like just like you said, Orlando this weekend. It's a worldwide tour. So Final Fantasy has a few different orchestras. This one's specifically for Rebirth, but I know that they do Distant Worlds.
Distant Worlds is one I've always wanted to go to.
Unfortunately, it does not tour as much as I would hope. So
and then they always do like different soundtracks when they do tour again. So like I think it's up to like Distant Worlds 5 and 6 now.
I just need 10.
I think they sell the Distant Worlds albums at there too. I got like a Cactar plushie at the last concert, so we'll see what I buy this time. That's awesome. I also got picked up by an Andrea Rodea cosplayer.
That's awesome.
I'm like, he's like, can I pick you up? I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And he picked me up. I was amazed.
He's gonna take you to the honeybee.
Oh yeah, he whispered in my ear and everything. It was amazing. I just wanted the picture with him, and he wanted to pick me up.
Hey, you know what? That's amazing.
But anyways, besides that, we have Dragon Age Veilguard, which I got to spend a lot more time with and I would say I feel like I gotta be getting close to the end because I've like completed everything in the crossroads at this point. Where
what main quest are you on?
I finished Wysop Fortress, so that's the last one I did.
That's the end of like part 2, I think, and then there's like 5 parts.
Oh, really?
But end of part 3 is like point of no return, and then parts 4 and 5 are like I got spoiled a little bit over the weekend.
Okay.
But there's so I'm in the middle of part 3 right now.
I am amazingly have not been spoiled on anything really.
I got with one of the ending things today. On Reddit.
Oh no.
Yep. So I mean, I'm doing all the side content. So I was doing like all those champion fights, these champion fights are optional bosses to unlock additional areas in the crossroads to do stuff, but they are hard. But you can do them under leveled if you are good enough with your dodges and blocks, which I happen to be because I was like level 20s taking out like 30 plus level champions. If you get hit once, you're pretty fucked, but it was really rewarding once you do complete it. And this is going to be like in my dashes steps to succeed in Veilguard. Always collect mementos because those are what give you the caretaker power, which then upgrades your caretaker and you don't even have to upgrade your equipment because if your caretaker is a higher level, then all the items that you loot are higher levels automatically too. So it really helps boost your stats.
Whatever item you loot is whatever level your caretaker is automatically.
Yep. I really like that. but I've been having so much fun with my Reaper class warrior. I'm just throwing my shield around like crazy, and then you can press a triangle button to throw it again when it rebounds off of you. So it stacks damage. I'm taking out dragons quickly once I do that on their weak spot, which I did do a optional boss that was level 50 at level 34.
Dash is just a medieval Captain America right now.
It really feels amazing.
That actually is very accurate, because the way you throw your shield and you catch it and you throw it back, it's basically like Captain America.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, they had to give the warrior some sort of ranged ability.
And it's just a shield toss, and he just hums that bitch.
Which I like how it's like kind of like they don't force you to choose between sword, shield, and two-handed builds. I wish there was maybe a dual wield, but, you know, I guess that's for the rogue. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten to the point where I gotten to know all the characters a bit more. I would say there isn't anyone I really hate or dislike. You know, I think this is it's a very solid casting, in my opinion. And even with what I've heard about Tash being kind of boring, I didn't find her as boring as maybe others have said.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of like the way they go about Tash's development as a character, because it kind of like the whole non-binary thing comes in later. It's not like something that they introduce Tash with. It's kind of like, you know, Tash is just kind of like this, I wouldn't say sheltered character, so they don't have much outside of their worldview that they've done. So then by joining the party, they kind of get exposed to a lot more ideas, I would say. But besides that, with the Game of the Year nominations, there was one interesting one in the Game of the Year category, which I decided to end up purchasing today and even checking out. So, Balatro, I believe.
The card game. Yeah.
Yep. I was very curious about it because I've always heard about it, and I kind of look at it, I'm like, okay, it's just a roguelike poker game. How does that work? Where does this like suddenly become a Game of the Year contender? So I put a couple hours into it today, and it's addicting. There's so much that you can do with it. So as long as you know the basic rules of poker, that's one thing. So you'll start off with your standard 52 card deck, and then the key here is you have to buy like these Joker cards that really help you multiply your points, because you have a certain number of hands that you need to beat your the bind limit to win for that level. So the Joker cards usually have conditions or abilities that they use to give you multipliers or more chips, so then it multiplies against all your cards that you're playing. And it gets crazy in the late game where you have like, maybe I've seen some people have like 17 different Jokers, and they're all like looping all their different abilities, and before you know it, you're like in the quintillions for your points. I haven't gotten up to that level yet because I feel like I need to really learn how everything combines still, but like I've done at least one full run where I actually beat in the run and unlocked like endless mode at that point. But I'm gonna have fun with this one. There's definitely a lot to unlock and a lot of combinations. They have different decks that have different modifiers, where you'll have like a deck that gives you an additional hand or discard, or even more Joker slots, or instead of gaining interest for the shop, you get money other ways. So it's definitely worth checking out. It's only $15, but I could, I only got 5 hours of play just on the day I bought it, so I can see myself getting easily over 100 at this point, because it's just something I can keep going back to. And I'm a sucker for a roguelike, so it's always going to go that way. But it's definitely an interesting choice for Game of the Year. I'm sure we'll cover that once we get to the Game of the Year contenders. But that's it for me.
Cool.
I have pretty much only played Dragon Age Railguard. I am almost done Act 3, like we were just talking about. I really like this game, but I definitely understand people's disappointment. I think this game Well, one, I think you can tell, like, this was going to be a live service game at one point, and they had to scrap it. And around COVID time is when they rebooted it. So, compared to a lot of games these days, but especially AAA with big budgets that take 5 to 6 years, this only got 3.5, really.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of tell there's spots where they rush. Somebody data mined, and apparently at one point, Dash, they were going to have the world states put in. And there was going to be, and there was all kinds of cut content. Because, I mean, so far, like, you only run into, I mean, from Inquisition, who have you seen? Varric, Harding,
the Inquisitor,
Dorian, Inquisitor. But even the Inquisitor is kind of like, it's just kind of like a weird conversation that you have for like 2 minutes and then you don't.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, I wish I could help you, but the South is pretty fucked right now. So
yeah, we got our own shit, so fuck off. Yeah. So it's kind of, you know, I guess I understand why they did it, because there was a lot of info between the first 3 games that they had to do it, and things to go from here and there. But it just seems like The Witcher 3 kind of nailed it. Like, you have a quick conversation in the beginning of the game, you recount events from the first 2, and then that's how your world state is. But hey, look, there's no crying in the breast milk, as they say. So we're gonna keep it going. I like the companions. I do think compared to the previous 3 games, I don't know how you feel, Dash, I feel like this is the weakest cast of characters.
I felt like Dragon Age 2 might be the weakest in my opinion, but
2 just gives you Varric, and Varric's one of my favorites. So I guess I have a soft spot for 2, but you might be right. This is probably on par with 2, with Origins and Inquisitions being the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because Inquisition has a great cast between Sola, Storian, Cole.
Even with a character I might very much dislike, but even then they play their role well. So,
what character did you dislike?
I don't like Vivian. She comes across so bitchy that it's always.
Vivian was one I used quite a lot in my playthroughs.
She's great as a combat member, but like when I have to talk to her, it's always like, I gotta roll my eyes every time she's talking.
A little bit of a cunt. A little bit of a cunt.
Some people might not like that, but
hey, it is what it is.
This is our show.
But I do like some of the characters. I think a couple of my favorites. I like Balara. I like Nev. I like Dorian. Harding's quest is actually very fulfilling. Tash's is okay. Like I've pushed through a good bit of that. She's probably my least favorite. I don't relate to that character at all, so that might be where my opinion flutters on that. I do think, I do like that she's kind of had like that identity crisis, and she's trying to figure out who she is or who they are, and go from there. But
yeah, I found Harding a bit boring.
Oh, did you finish Harding's quest?
Well, I found her like boring until you started getting to like, okay, we're getting a bit deep into the dwarven lore now. So
yeah,
now
you get deep into the dwarven lore, and it kind of pops off there. I like Dorian's a lot. With the griffins and shit like that, like you have the first Dragon Age game with griffins that are. Is it Davrin? What did I say?
Yeah, Dorian.
Dorian's the last game. I'm sorry, Davrin. Yep. You get the first shot of griffins in all of Dragon Age that we've played so far. So that's awesome. Asan's my boy. I pet that man every time I see him in the lighthouse.
Can we talk about Emmerich and Manfred though?
If you want.
I love Emmerich. He's a very fun character, especially when you get the banter between characters. I think Emmerich has some of my favorite banter with every other character.
His personal conversations are really good too, and his quest so far is very good. I don't know how far you are into it.
I've done like where you've gone to like go around
the graveyards
and stuff. And
the graveyard. Okay, it gets even deeper once you pass the graveyards and everything like that. But I think honestly, like. He's probably in my top 10 Dragon Age companions between this and all the other games. He's a very good
that'd
companion.
Be interesting to do like a whole ranking on that. I think about
the Dragon Age companions. Once she plays the game, we can do it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He has to play all of them.
Yeah, he's got to play all of them.
Okay, once it fucking goes on sale, I will though. Like I have my work gives me the last 2 weeks of the year off, so I'll literally just be.
Fuck yeah.
Isn't it wild that they got Matt Mercer, the voice Manfred, and all he does is hiss?
All he does is hiss. Yeah. Speaking of him, I just finished season 3 of Vox Machina.
Vox Machina is great.
What a banger of a show! If you've never watched
I've never watched it.
Dude, so it's you've seen Critical Role at all? I never really watched Critical Role. but that's what it's based off of is their D&D campaigns, and
that's awesome.
All the characters voice their own characters in the show. So like Laura Bailey's in it, Matt Mercer, Ashley Johnson.
I think Laura Bailey's husband is part of it too. Then
I think, yeah, I don't know who that guy is, but I don't keep up with that as much. That's my bad. But Matt Mercer plays a lot of random character stuff. Lance Reddick was in it. He was one of the main villains. I think it's his last role.
Yep.
That he did. And then there's some other great voice actors in it as well. I'm forgetting the names. I apologize.
Natural Six needs to get an animated series at this point too.
Yeah. Shout out to the first Chocobo Chasers guest, huh?
Oh yeah.
Doug Cockle, who's a legend.
Which actually Alex Jordan from Natural Six voices one of the Rook.
Oh,
options.
do they? Which Rook?
I want to say it's the first Rook.
Okay, nice.
At least, yeah, I can't. It's hard to tell sometimes because voice actors are really good at changing their voices.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
But
that's why they get paid the big bucks, though.
I mean that's kind of like I always make the note. It's always like, there's difference between an actor voicing the character and a voice actor.
Right.
We got off though. I need to get back to Dragon Age Railguard. I see why people are disappointed. I'm still having a lot of fun with the game. I think the story's great so far. But I think Solus is one of the more interesting characters in Dragon Age that we've had in the last 2 games, especially the Trespasser DLC was fucking incredible. And so having him be like an anti-hero, not quite the antagonist of your story, because if you're playing through it, you know who they are. And having him just kind of in your head the whole time. And I haven't gotten to the end. I'm excited to get to it, but I'm having a lot of fun. It's great so far. I'm still enjoying it. I played a little Call of Duty 2 on Search and Destroy on Friday. It wasn't a good time, Dash. You wouldn't have wanted to play. So,
Search and Destroy is like the one game mode that pisses me off because I'm a run and gunner, so
I love Search. Man.
I need my respawns.
Yeah, that's how I am
Search.
too.
But that was all I played for the week.
Well, that's I feel like it was a little bit of a lighter week for us, but sometimes that's also just because we put so much time into specific games this week. Yeah. Well, let's talk the Game Awards. So we'll obviously be doing a show, and we actually have made the decision we're going to live stream with the Game Awards this year. So definitely be sure to tune in. We're excited. It's something that we've never done before, but I think it's going to be a great time. That being said, the nominees were just announced. So again, this is the Game Awards. I think this is actually the 10th year this year. Jeff Keighley's Game Awards are December 12th. You actually can go on and vote yourself now. So let's go ahead and look at some of the larger categories. Again, we're not going to dive into every single little one here, but some of the bigger ones. We'll start with Game of the Year. So this year's nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. There are a lot of games that absolutely deserve this nomination. This is a stacked year. Dragon Age. I do wonder if they're holding Dragon Age over for the next year to potentially be nominated.
Because Dragon Age did get nominated for Best Accessibility.
Okay.
So I think it's just kind of like a lot of the categories are stacked for what they are. And as much as Dragon Age Veilguard itself is a very solid game.
Definitely not Game of the Year.
Yeah, it's not Game of the Year, but also like in other categories, like maybe I would say, maybe knock off Dragon's Dogma 2 from the Best RPG section and put Veilguard in there, I guess. But
Eric would absolutely agree with that.
Yep.
But no. So for me, Astrobot absolutely deserves it. I think it's the best platformer I've ever played, and it's I think it's the best PlayStation 5 game. Like, period.
I still need to play it.
Balatro, obviously Dash just dropped 5 hours like it was nothing in it, just barely. I think I'm the only one of us who's played Black Myth. It is great. I absolutely enjoyed it. Elden Ring. Okay, this is where shit starts to get a little bit.
I might not actually be a gamer. I haven't played any of this shit.
This is where shit starts to get a little dicey. Like, should a DLC be nominated for Game of the Year? Our chat was actually kind of blowing up a little bit today talking about this. And
I think it's just an excuse to give Elden Ring some more awards at this point.
So Jeff loves FromSoft.
Yep.
Like, Armored Core got a shit ton of press, and like I feel like that game released and then we never heard anything about it afterwards.
It's a very niche game for a very niche audience. That's the thing.
And so, listen, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree was a 10 out of 10 DLC for all, purposes. I didn't play it myself because I had a hard enough time with the base game that I felt like I was going to get so frustrated if I played this. But I know those who do really love FromSoft games loved this DLC. And even if the final boss was maybe a little lacking, especially compared to its predecessor, it was one of the best things that came out this year. So I understand from that aspect nominating it for Game of the Year. That being said, it is a DLC. Like, I don't necessarily
Blood and Wine
agree.
didn't get nominated for Game of the Year, did it?
What?
Did Blood and Wine get nominated for Game of the Year when it came out?
It got nominated for Best RPG category.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Like Best Narrative. Like, I totally agree with nominating things, but for the big overall award, like, this is
the key word. Game. Game.
Yeah. No,
Game of the Year.
But I'm 100% in line with that. Like, I do think that this should be for fully fledged games. So let's say we take out Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. What would you replace it with?
Silent Hill 2.
Helldivers.
Or even Helldivers 2. Like, those are the two big ones I can think of that.
But should remakes kind of count with that as well? Like, should
it's a whole
remakes
new game.
be considered? So I'd agree in that context. Like, I don't think remasters should fall under that.
Last of Us Part 1 should not, I feel like, qualify for a Game of the Year because it's the same game. You slap a new coat paint on it, quality of life kind of stuff. But Silent Hill 2 Remake is a completely new experience, new game. Just like Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 4 Remake. Yeah. Those are completely different games from the original that you can play both of them and have completely different experiences.
Yeah, so in addition, Best Game Direction, we have literally the same nominees. We've got Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII, and Metaphor. So, it's kind of the same points that we were just making. Best Narrative, we're starting to see a little bit of variation. You've got Final Fantasy VII, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Metaphor, Senua's Saga, which is definitely a game I thought that would probably end up being nominating for a lot more.
Didn't get nominated for that much.
Yeah, really, really kind of surprised.
I wonder if the shortness of the game kind of came back.
I think that part of it also is that I just don't think the game necessarily met expectations as much as people thought. But I mean, it's also just a stacked year, like we've talked about. Like, so you've got Best Art Direction, so Astrobot, Black Myth, Elden Ring, Metaphor, and Neva. Best Score in Music, Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII, Metaphor, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. Happy to see Stellar Blade get some love. I absolutely had a just blast of a time playing it. Best Performance, so Hannah Tell from Life is Strange, Double Exposure, Brianna White, who plays Aerith in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Umberly Gonzalez from Star Wars Outlaws, which I still have yet to play. I think all of us have yet to play it still.
Still Luke waiting Roberts, on sale.
Yeah.
It just went on sale, actually. I got an email from Ubisoft.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know how much, but...
There we go. Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2, who I absolutely think has a decent shot to win this award.
I think it's between him and Brianna White at this point.
And then Melina Juergens from Senua's Saga, which I know that she always does an incredible job, at least in her two performances as Senua, so could absolutely see her winning those ones. But yeah, obviously there's a ton of categories. One thing that, they do have a category for it, is Most Anticipated Game. We've got Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4, and Monster Hunter Wilds. So I believe that these are all games that are projected to come out in 2025. So, which is awesome. What is your guys' most anticipated game as right now?
Personally, Death Stranding 2, but really? I know I know Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be the one that's...
I think, I don't think that there's any way that Grand Theft Auto 6 isn't most anticipated. For me, it's got to be Ghost of Yotei, though. Like, it's Ghost of Tsushima is a perfect game for me. I absolutely loved it. Thought the combat was just some of the crispiest that I've ever played. The story, I am a sucker for good samurai stories, and it checks every box. Daisuke absolutely killed it as his performance as Jin. And while I'm kind of sad that Jin won't be making an appearance in this game, I am also just kind of stoked that, like, I think that he'll be kind of referenced as like this legend that was the ghost. And, maybe we'll find out what ended up happening with Jin, like, post after the game. So, Eric, I'm assuming Ghost is your most anticipated as well.
Ghost for sure, but there's other games. I've said Avowed a few times, and I think that's something that's just going to be completely different than what we've kind of seen. It's a first-person, fantasy RPG made by Obsidian in the world of Aora. I'm a huge fan of Pillars of Eternity, so and it's early on in the year too, so I'm excited for that. I know
sneaky sleeper hit there.
Yeah, I know the guy that. So they showed it at the last Game Awards, and I'm wondering if they show another trailer, but it's actually a couple of the writers and a couple of guys from the original Mass Effect team. Actually, one of the main writers from the original Mass Effect team is Drew Karpyshyn. He is part of this group at Archetype Entertainment, writing this new game called Exodus.
Yep.
And they showed that last year.
From them.
Yeah, so I have that too. And I hope I'm right that Drew Karpyshyn's a part of that team, because I think he emailed me about it a while back, saying that he was on that. I think, but I'd have to go double check my email that one time.
Very cool.
But he, so for those of you who don't know, he wrote one of the earlier parts of Mass Effect 1 and 2. I don't know if he was around for 3. He might have left BioWare by that point. But he wrote a couple of their books as well. And if you like Mass Effect 1 and 2, you'll understand why he's pretty good at what he does. Absolutely. And so if he's part of that team, that's something I look forward to playing, because I'm definitely, I'm always down for something with sci-fi.
Oh, yeah. But no, it's...
Maybe they'll show something with Mass Effect as well. The next, was it Mass Effect 5 coming?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say next. Do you guys think that there's going to be anything fun shown? Because now, just like Eric said, I mean, BioWare's fully into Mass Effect at this point. I mean, aside from...
Yep, there will be no Dragon Age. There will be no Dragon Age DLC.
Which, at least
kind of refreshing.
That's promising, because then that means there's no content cut out of the game, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Or in this instance, as we might know, it's content that didn't make it into the game.
Yeah. But it's not content they cut at the last minute because of time crunch, and they're going to charge you for it later.
Yeah. No, So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. I do think Resident Evil 9 officially gets revealed at the Game Awards. I think that we've been waiting a little bit. I mean, it's been, I think, 3 years since Resident Evil Village. Let's see. Resident Evil Village launched in 2021. So yeah,
still in the apartment. So yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, and it launched in May of 2021. So it's been 3.5 years. I think we're due. And obviously they've released Resident Evil 4 in between that, but they do have two teams who work on separate games. So you have one team working on the newest iteration of Resident Evil, while another team is working on remakes. And if rumors are to be believed, you've got Resident Evil 0, 1, and Code Veronica, and 5. I mean, they've got a decent bit to work with right now, but those are kind of the ones that they're going to go ahead and do. And if rumors are also to be believed, we'll be getting Leon and Jill, so that would be quite the pair, which we've never had together in a game before. So very, very cool. But anything else
in the movie Death Island?
Yes, but never in a game.
Yep.
Anything else you guys think will show up?
Do we get more of the Kojima game? What's that Xbox Kojima game?
OD, or I think it's
Overdose. Yeah,
because it showed last year that early trailer. It's got the girl from It. I forget her name. She was in the Dungeons and Dragons movie too, the redheaded girl.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I can't think of her name.
She played Beverly in It. Yeah.
Yes, she was very good in both It and Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons was a very underrated movie. If y'all didn't go see it, it came out the same week as fucking Mario, So it got blasted at the box office. But that's just a fun movie. I equate it to kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Chris Pine
Eh.
just being Chris Pine, ton of charisma, a lot of fun. It's a good movie.
Just a good overall game. And it's Sophia Lillis is who we're talking
Sophia
about.
Lillis.
Also, this game is being co-written by Jordan Peele, which is also very cool, which also got revealed. Maybe you'll
see more of that, I think.
I think
because he's pretty tight with Kojima, correct?
Absolutely. And
Kojima just collects all these Hollywood actors and writers and stuff like that.
It's Infinity Stones, bro. I'm just waiting for one day because George Martin's not going to finish fucking Song of Ice and Fire. When does George Martin work with Kojima on a game?
I mean, he worked with From on the game,
he already worked on Elden Ring, so.
And everybody makes the joke. It's like, oh yeah, of course there's incest involved once George R. R. Martin got him involved.
Yeah.
But no, that's actually pretty awesome, man. I kind of totally forgot about OD, so I absolutely think
I'd like to see the gameplay, but it might be like Death Stranding, where they just kind of slowly make it build up. Because Death Stranding, it was forever before we finally got to see that gameplay.
Yeah,
does Light No Fire come out next year? That's the Hello Games fantasy game.
The new game, yeah. I don't think it had any sort of release date.
Yep, just to be announced. We probably see more of that because it got announced last year at this.
That was so funny that British Alex, we were talking to him during the meetup. He actually knows someone that's related to Sean Murphy, apparently.
Yeah, he was telling us that, so he's met Sean a couple times.
Speaking of, do we get more details on Jurassic Park Survival, which I believe
it has to be close to being released because we saw gameplay engine at least, so.
I think that it's going to launch in 2025. It'd be a perfect summer game if they decide to go ahead and do that. One thing that they could also potentially be doing is showing things that I feel like they're going to want to show things that are launching in 2025. So maybe there's some stuff that we don't know a ton about. Does GTA make another appearance? I don't necessarily know that they need to, because
they're going to come out with the release date. Let's do. I'm calling it.
And it'll be like a year from now. It'll be holiday season 2025. That's my ultimate guess. But no, a lot of things to be excited for. We'll do a quick prediction show, obviously, right before the show is going to go ahead and happen for some of these specific things. We'll call out some winners who we think is going to win some of these major categories, and final predictions for what we think is going to happen during the show. But like I said, we are going to do a live show, our very first time for the Game Awards, so be sure to go ahead and tune in, and we'll be excited to hang out with everybody. One last thing we wanted to talk about for tonight's show: Sony, if rumors again are to be believed, because a lot of this is just rumors, it's conjecture. We don't know how official, how legitimate all of this is. But when it starts being reported by some of these larger accounts, you do have to pay attention. So Sony is apparently in talks by Kadokawa, who is the parent company of FromSoftware. I'm going to say this right now. I think this is an absolutely terrible idea. So Kadokawa, this level of acquisition would almost be like an Activision Blizzard level of acquisition. One, because Kadokawa has a ton of anime IP. What's nuts is that Sony owns Crunchyroll, and they already have this insane share of and I can't understand how it's not a monopoly on that side, because they own so much of the world's IP.
Well, I guess do monopoly laws apply to Japanese markets?
I don't know, but this would be, I guess Sony is technically a Japanese company, so maybe not. I mean, they would still have to go through a lot of the same hurdles, I feel like. So, but from a game perspective, because we're a gaming podcast, but I think it would be bad. We've seen...
I don't want any more.
Yeah, we've seen the effects of huge companies buying studios, and what has happened? I mean, Firesprite literally got closed immediately. I mean, and Concord was a bad game, yes, but I mean, that's what happens. You have Microsoft, who purchases Activision Blizzard, and we've seen a lot of kind of bad stuff because of that. Like, is there going to be any benefit, one, for the studio to be purchased? Because it used to be, oh, you get purchased by a huge studio. Well, now you get all the benefits, you get the funding, you get all this stuff from being a part of, the Sony ecosystem or Microsoft. But now it's like, well, now they can just choose to cut you. They can choose to do all these things that are going to be a detriment to you if they feel like you're not meeting their standards. And I just, the shitty part about this is that FromSoft literally has no say. This is a parent company decision, so this is totally out of their hands. The only plus side that I would potentially see to this is that we would get a Bloodborne remake, prequel, or sequel. I think that would be a guarantee if this were to happen.
I don't think they they don't need to acquire FromSoftware to do that, though. That's the whole.
No, they don't. But it would happen if this happened. That's
what
the
I would
only
like
benefit.
them to see as like they're just probably doing this for the anime studios. Maybe they offset the gaming stuff to still be like multi-platform or whatever, or maybe someone else splits it off kind of thing. But I really don't want Sony buying more game studios. I don't want Microsoft buying more game studios because they've done nothing with them but shut them down, even when they make critically successful games. I'm not going to talk about financial success because Microsoft set some of these mid-budget games up to fail when
they're on Game Pass day one. So why are you going to buy them?
We got Kumitsugami from Capcom saying that it missed its sales target because, I'm guilty of it too. I use Game Pass to play it because it was a $40 game, but it was a really great game. Something I would have spent $40 on if I had to.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, Game Pass is consumer friendly, so consumers are going to use it. I unfortunately have to use it because financial reasons. I can't just buy every game I want, but there's so many I do want to play, and Game Pass is convenient. But
exactly,
it just needs to be a better model that takes into account for those who put their games on there.
Exactly. So hopefully this ends up just being a rumor. I know Sony is definitely looking at further acquisitions. Like I said, I agree with everything that Dash just said. I don't want them to buy more because I think it's good to have third parties in this market. I think they tend to create awesome experiences. That's how you get a BioWare. That's how you get a CD Projekt Red. And those, CD Projekt has literally come out and said, yeah, nobody is acquiring us. Nobody. And I love that. I love that they're like, we want to be autonomous. We want to be on our own. But, maybe this is something.
The leaked emails that Microsoft originally, I think before they wanted to go after Activision, they were trying to ballpark what Steam would be worth. And I think the email said like 70 to like 80 billion is what they think they would have to come to the table with right off the bat just to see if they would even be interested. But they've talked about trying to buy Steam. Like they want to buy any and everybody they can.
They're not going to buy anybody again for a long time, especially after all
that. While, but
the headache. But yeah,
there's look. I think if you give it 3 to 5 years, I think they probably go after somebody else.
Yeah, one that I'm surprised hasn't been looked at more closely is 2K. Like, because you've got Rockstar under there. You've got obviously all the sports games that would fall under that umbrella as well. Mm-hmm. Just something that.
That'd be another surprise. They'd be super expensive just because of how much money GTA Online prints.
Yep.
GTA and the 2K franchises, like they seriously do just bring in so much freaking money. So, no. Well, cool. I think that's a solid spot to go ahead and cap us off here, unless you guys have something else.
Can we talk about how best racing or the best sports category for Game Awards can't even include college football?
I mean, listen, I really like college football, but it has a lot of work that needs to happen before next year's release.
I guess I don't play these other games to really know the quality and state that they're in either. So
NBA 2K is kind of like the top of the class, like
apparently
in terms
WWE
of like
game
simulation
was pretty good too.
Yeah, this year's 2K was pretty good. Topspin is apparently a really solid tennis sim. and FIFA, which is now EA Sports FC. I mean, it makes sense. It's EA just printing money with all of these sports games, but no Madden and no college football. So,
and how about best mobile game, which I think we all know which one should deserve it, because we've, at least Eric should know. I'm not sure if he's participating, but he knows.
Our Pokemon the trading card game.
Yep. That game has taken the world by storm, I feel like.
I think Balatro is going to blow it out of the water, though.
For mobile game?
Mm-hmm.
Because Pokemon brought in $120 million in its like first 14 days, I think they said.
That is disgusting. That is disgusting.
You just gotta label something Pokemon, you're gonna make a lot of money.
Oh, 100%. So
I love the idea of giving people free pack openings every 12 hours, though.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of these card games don't do.
give me a Yu-Gi-Oh version of this Pokemon game, and I'm gonna be.
I think there is
Let me
one.
get
on
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
I think it's like called Yu-Gi-Oh! Destiny or something like that.
But
It's not. It's more focused on the gameplay, right? It's not a collectible.
I want this style. I want this exact game, but I want Yu-Gi-Oh.
Because you can fight with the cards too, huh?
Yep.
Yes.
It's a much simplified, streamlined version of the actual Pokemon TCG game.
Yeah.
So it's not the same. I learned that later. I thought that's exactly how it plays, but nope, it's different.
Just a little bit.
It's okay.
Cool. Well, boys, love chatting it up with you. And
as always,
until next week, we will catch everybody next time.
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.